President Trump addresses the nation on 11 months of wins. We have the latest on Rhode Island and the manhunt to find the killer of 2 Brown University students. Also, guess which celebrity has some very positive thoughts about socialism? All of that and so much more today on 10 Minute Drill.
Everybody get up, get up.
The story of America is the story of an adventure.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
We are a nation under God, and I believe God intended for us to be free.
Last night, President Trump addressed the nation from the Oval Office.
I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people.
We've talked on 10 Minute Drill about the need for President Trump and Republicans to make sure they are touting victories. That was a big goal of this speech from President Trump last night. We have short memories in politics, and we might have forgotten the fact that just over a year ago at this time, Americans' number one concern was the open border and the immigration crisis. President Trump touted closing that. He touted peace in the Middle East, deals that he has worked with other countries to strike. He talked about progress in trying to bring down the cost of things, noting the fact that inflation right now under President Trump is significantly lower than it was under President Biden. He also discussed the need for Americans to watch as they do their tax returns in the new year, all the benefits that are going to come through the big, beautiful bill. The manhunt continues in Providence, Rhode Island for the shooter of 2 Brown University students. The press conferences that have been held between law enforcement and university officials have unfortunately left more questions than answers. We go back to the first night after the shooting in this moment.
6 hours after the shooting, and you said you don't know what was going on in that classroom? How does that happen? Were they taking an exam? Were they meeting for a club?
I don't know.
6 hours later, and you're the president, and you don't know.
I do not know.
Well, that's kind of concerning.
A number of questions in these press conferences have focused on why we don't have better access to images. There are cameras all around a multi-million-dollar school, and yet everything that they are releasing for the public is fuzzy and difficult to follow.
How does a multi-million-dollar school not have a bunch of cameras in the hallway?
So there's the back part of the building, old part, and front part, new part. The shooting occurs in the old part, towards the back, up towards Hope Street. In that older part of the building, there are fewer, if any, cameras in that location.
University officials and law enforcement have been criticized for these failures, both in cameras to capture things that happen, but also in gathering information and being able to assure people that they're safe. Brown University President Christina Paxson attempted to address that.
Brown is deeply committed to the safety and security and well-being of our community.
Now, a number of media reports have discussed the fact that the shooter shouted something as they were carrying out this horrific act. And a number of credible reports have said the shooter shouted out Allahu Akbar. But people are asking why these officials will not share what that statement was.
Did he yell though? Did something
So that's something that we're investigating. We took statements and we have to confirm that.
So that's been a point that these officials have really been pressed on, is what did they yell and why are they not announcing that? Because it could help with the investigation and the public's involvement in finding out more about who this person was. But the officials in these press conferences have been incredibly cagey about that, even as reports circulated online about both the identity and the thing that was shouted.
To your question, Amanda, about words that were spoken, it's easy to jump from someone saying words that were spoken to what those words are, to a particular name that reflects a motive targeting a particular person. That's a really dangerous road to go down.
Now, when you're working on a manhunt like this, where you need as much community involvement as possible, the more you can share, the better. And so it's notable that these officials are working very hard to bottle up these reports, however credible they might be, about what this person shouted. But I also think it's very notable that they're trying to keep people from discussing this topic when the first night after this happened, they were willing to release the name of a person of interest who happened to be a U.S. service member who they later cleared and released because they found that he had a clear alibi and wasn't involved at all. So a lot of questions are coming out of these press conferences and not a lot of answers. Last week, the Trump administration announced a major shift in their policy around China. They have been debating for several months whether to allow Nvidia, a Santa Clara, California-based company well known for making advanced chips of all kinds, to sell their advanced chips to China, which many have suggested would give China a major advantage as they continue to develop AI technology, among other things. Here's U.S. Senator Dave McCormick reacting to this.
I'm concerned. I'm not clear on why that is the right path for us.
Hudson Institute senior fellow Michael Sabolic writes that this shift on chips within the larger national security strategy is signaling a very dangerous shift towards China. The national security strategy suggests the possibility of a genuinely mutually advantageous economic relationship with Beijing, rooted in reciprocity and fairness. It is from these assumptions that many of the administration's most peculiar China policies flow, doubling the number of Chinese students without corresponding security protocols, allowing CCP-controlled TikTok to operate in violation of U.S. law, and approving the sale of advanced artificial intelligence chips to Chinese companies with links to the People's Liberation Army. Sabolic is joined in that concern with people like Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Senator Tom Cotton, who have long warned that we cannot take China for granted, particularly as they continue to make antagonistic maneuvers in so many different ways towards the United States. Sabolic concluded his piece with, "The president has time to course correct, and he has all the inspiration he needs from his first administration. If he doesn't, however, policymakers in 2050 will look back to this decade, just as we look back to the fateful decision to normalize trade relations with China 25 years ago, as a fateful turning point when America's leaders talked a big game, but yielded to billionaires and lobbyists who are not elected or paid to consider the national interest. They will also look back and know whether America first was doctrine or delusion." Former chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Michael McCaul, also expressed concerns about this shift on the chips. DeepSeek should have been a wake-up call about the dangers of selling advanced semiconductor chips to the CCP. Using less powerful Nvidia chips, China developed the most advanced open-source models on the planet. I shudder to think of what they might do with more advanced hardware like the H200 chips. The House Select Committee on China also raised their own warnings about this. Right now, China is far behind the United States in chips that power the AI race. Because the H200s are far better than what China can produce domestically, both in capability and scale, Nvidia selling these chips to China could help it catch up to America in total compute. Finally, Nvidia should be under no illusions. China will rip off its technology, mass produce it themselves, and seek to end Nvidia as a competitor. This is China's playbook it is using in every critical industry. A few weeks ago, we discussed the Supreme Court's decision to hear arguments about birthright citizenship here in the United States. A new story from the Wall Street Journal is sure to factor into that debate. The Chinese billionaires having dozens of US-born babies via surrogate. Video game executive Zhu Bo, said to have more than 100 children, and other elites build mega families, testing citizenship laws and drawing on nannies, IVF, and legal firms set up to help them. The Wall Street Journal unpacks a phenomenon where Chinese billionaires are working with surrogates in the United States to have dozens, and in some cases 100 children that are born here in the United States and would naturally get U.S. citizenship under current law. However, this is running into a legal minefield. In one case, a judge has denied parentage. In cases like this, these Chinese billionaires are spending millions on surrogates, never stepping foot in the United States, and having no intention to actually play a role in parenting these children. And again, the legal minefield is incredibly complicated. From Wall Street Journal, in 2020, the State Department moved to curb so-called birth tourism, tightening visa rules for women suspected of visiting the U.S. to give birth. In January, Donald Trump issued an executive order denying citizenship to children born in the U.S. unless one of their parents was a citizen or permanent legal resident, which is being reviewed by the Supreme Court. It is unclear if either regulation would apply to foreigners working with surrogates who are Americans. So obviously, this is an incredibly complex situation. This Wall Street Journal story is crazy, but I imagine this isn't the last we're going to hear about this particular trend. We don't do a lot of celebrity news here on 10 Minute Drill, but Amanda Seyfried, perhaps best known for her role as Karen Smith in Mean Girls,
so if you're from Africa, why are you white?
Has some thoughts about socialism. She says socialism is a gorgeous idea as she grapples with the current state of America. How about we all don't have any kind of agendas? How about our agenda is to take care of each other? I know socialism doesn't work perfectly, or that people understand what that word actually means. For me, it's taking care of each other. If I have more money, I can spend money on other people. What isn't beautiful about socialism is the fact that it's normally carried out at gunpoint and by force, meaning if you made the kind of money that Amanda Seyfried makes, it would be taken from her to fund government programs that in every single case this has ever been tried, don't actually work. But this is an important reminder that when you talk about socialism and you see polling showing more and more people are actually comfortable with the idea of socialism, they don't actually know what it is, and they don't actually come into that with the historical context. To them, it sounds like just doing nice things for other people, which you are allowed to do now. You don't need a government structure to allow that to happen. And actual socialism is very different and very dangerous. For our You Can't Make It Up segment today, we go back to our dear friend Eric Swalwell, who is about to reach an incredible milestone. He's about to do it. As Eric Swalwell's missed vote streak hits 45, he's rocketed past the late Raul Grijalva for the second most missed votes for 2025. Now, we know why Swalwell is busy. He has to make videos like this.
I should be working right now. I should be in Congress. I should be voting to lower your costs. But instead, I'm in a pool.
He is running for governor, and according to the New York Post, he's missed votes to attend things like the White Lotus premiere in Los Angeles, or a taping with Stephen Colbert. It may be paying off, because he appears to be cleaning up with donations from incredible celebrities like Kathy Griffin, John Cryer, and Robert De Niro. We are always grateful for the incredible content that comes out of this California governor's race, and we don't know whether to laugh or cry. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on 10 Minute Drill. Please leave us a review. Go on into Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. Have a great day.